Hi guys, I hope you're all doing really well. Today I have got my eyeshadow palette collection for you. I just thought that it would be nice to show you all of the palettes that I currently own and talk you through some of their value, whether it's actually for makeup use or if it is a sentimental value. And I really hope that you enjoy this video. Please let me know if you did and if there are any other videos that you'd like to see from me in the near future. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So this here is the Stila in the Light palette. This is the oldest eyeshadow palette in my collection, and it was the very first high-end eyeshadow palette I ever purchased for myself. This palette I bought for my 20th birthday as a gift to myself, so it has a really special place in my heart, and I still love it to this day because it's just all my essential neutral shades, from a bare like base shade all the way to a deep matte black. And you can see this palette is just so grubby because I've gotten so much use out of it. This palette will be pretty familiar to a lot of you guys on my channel because this one is in my project pan at the moment. This is the Lorac Unzipped Gold. I've had this for just under 2.5 years now, and as much as I loved this palette at first, I just find myself a little bit uninspired by it nowadays because I find that it doesn't have quite as much tonal range as I sort of wish that it had. Like these two shades, although one is shimmer and one's matte, they're very similar. These two are both mattes, just so similar and function in the same way. And a lot of these shimmers here on this end just could be quite interchangeable. However, I have now hit pan on 3 of the shades while doing my project, and I will continue to use this palette through till the end of this year. Since we're sort of talking a little bit about all my neutral palettes, I figured I would just pull this one out. I purchased this one actually for my 25th birthday as a little bit of a replacement for my Stila in the Light palette because I really wanted to, you know, use something a little bit new and just try something a little different. So 5 years later, I decided to pick this guy up, but it, as much as it's nice, it really doesn't compare in terms of formula to how the Stila in the Light functions. There are a lot more shades in this one. It doesn't have a matte black. It doesn't really have that really vibrant champagne. So it is quite different because it does have these more colorful shades like this one here, Candy Violet and Cherry Cordial. But it isn't my favorite eyeshadow palette in my collection. And to be honest, even though it's only about 6 months old at this point, I just don't find myself reaching for it anymore. And that's pretty sad, because I tend to buy makeup that I will love and use for years. So I gotta reach for this one a lot more. I just need to make a point of kind of making myself reach for it and try to use it. I've got a really affordable eyeshadow palette here. This is the Essence Shape and Shadows. I don't know why that's really hard for me to say together. Shape and Shadows. And it has only 5 shades in it, as well as a primer slash brow wax. So a mix of 3 mattes, 2 shimmers, perfect for eyebrows and eyeshadow. And I do like that this is a multi-purpose kit, as well as it comes with this small brush that has a spoolie on the end. I actually adore this brush so much. And I actually do find myself reaching for this. It's great for travel. This palette is the Pacifica Solar palette. It is a full face palette actually, so it doesn't just contain eyeshadow. It has 6 eyeshadows alongside a blush, a bronzer, and 3 cream highlighters. And I do think that you can really use all of these on the face. You can use all of these on the eyes. So I tend to use this bronzer as a transition shade. This blush is just a beautiful, like, rich color to use either on your eyes or on the lids. And then the cream highlights are great as lip toppers or as highlighters or even as a cream shadow base because they're not super thin. They're quite a thicker consistency cream, so they actually do sit really well on the lids. I always use primer anyway. If you saw my products I've hit pan on, you saw this palette. I think pretty much everyone has this palette in their collection. It is the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone, and mine is looking a little worse for wear. The lid comes right off completely, but it is because it is so well loved. I've had this palette for about 4 years now, and I still reach for it all the time, even though it is a drugstore palette. There's just something about the colors that are great for every day. Like, I love these two for every day. And then there's also these really fun colors, like this taupey color, this green, and this blue brown. Gorgeous, gorgeous, unique, and yet super wearable shades. I love that color so, so much, and I wish I had a way to wear it more often, but I don't know, it's just so beautiful. It's so mesmerizing. Like, look at that. Oh my god, it's stunning. And this palette costs about $5 or $6 Canadian, I believe, or at least it did at the time that I purchased it. But it might be a little bit more now. But it is a permanent eyeshadow palette, as far as I believe, from Wet n Wild, and super, super inexpensive, especially for the quality that you get. And this palette here is the only other 8-pan palette that I own from Wet n Wild. This is the Petal Pusher, and as you can see, it's a collection of purple shades, and I haven't used it near as much as I've used my Comfort Zone palette. I'm not drawn to all these colors. Like, this one here definitely isn't something that I really have much interest in utilizing. It's like a deep black with red sparkles in it. However, this deep black with silver sparkles in it, just like, I adore it. I love, love, love that shade. I love this brow bone shade, and when I got it home, I realized that the brow bone pan is pressed in here upside down, which I find hilarious and makes me love this palette so much. I do need to reach for this more often, and hopefully in the summer I will kind of incorporate it in more of my looks, because it is a beautiful palette. So let's hop into something a little bit more interesting. So far everything's been fairly neutral. However, that is my preference when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, and then I will pick up singles or quads of more vibrant shades. But this palette is like the most fun palette in my collection. This is the Urban Decay Electric palette, and if you haven't seen this, I don't know, you need it in your life. However, unfortunately it is discontinued, which makes me so sad. These are beautiful, beautiful shades. There's such a vast array of really vibrant pressed pigments in this palette, and it always inspires me so much. We'll just step back to neutrals for a moment. This is the Joe Fresh eyeshadow palette in neutrals. Pretty self-explanatory. There are 12 neutral shades. This isn't the most like amazing eyeshadow palette by any means, but I do really find myself reaching for some of these neutrals from time to time, and I think that this is just a really good, affordable, and quite portable. Like, you can see it's like the size of smaller than my hand. Very portable, multi-use eyeshadow palette. I think this is great for traveling, or even to stick in my makeup bag to like do my makeup on the go or after work or something like that. So I do hold on to this for that exact reason. The most recent addition to my makeup collection and my current most cherished palette is the beautiful Modern Renaissance palette. So many people have raved about this over the past year or so, and I didn't want to give into the hype, but I'm so happy I finally did. This palette contains gorgeous neutrals and then some other more vibrant and fun shades that I think are just so inspiring and allow you to do some really creative looks without feeling too out there or too dramatic. This palette blends effortlessly. There's just so many really good things to say about it, and I totally get why people went crazy for this palette ever since it was released. And the final palette in my collection is my Z palette. I don't have a ton of shadows in here by any means, but I have put my Urban Decay Naked palette, the shadows that remained after, unfortunately, I dropped it about 2 years ago, and a ton of shadows broke and were not salvageable. So this is the shade range that remains from that. I have the Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells and Silent Treatment trios in here. I got some ColourPop singles. These are some NYX singles, and this is an Urban Decay shadow that I got in an Ipsy bag. I love this shade actually. It's really cool. It's like a pink with some purple and blue shift to it. This is MAC Woodwinked, and this one here is Makeup Forever M600. Yeah, M600. These are both in projects because they're not cruelty free. And yeah, that's my current Z palette. However, I definitely want to pick up some like Makeup Geek shadows and some more of the ColourPop because I love the formula of these. I only picked up mattes when I made my order, but I love these. Like, look at this shade. This is Paper Tiger. Look at how cool that color is. It's beautiful. It's so different. I love that color. And I don't find myself reaching for this palette too often, but thankfully now that I'm working on 2 shades in here for my projects, this one for my 6 through summer project pan, and this one's for my 17 in 2017 project pan, I've been reaching for this palette more often, and these shades definitely all kind of work together, so I have found myself utilizing this palette a lot more. I think that this palette collection is actually a pretty reasonable collection. I think it's not too excessive. I do get a fair amount of use out of everything, but I wanted to sit down and show you all of the palettes, talk you through some of my thoughts on them, and yeah, I love seeing collection videos, but I felt like there's no way that I can show you my full collection in one video, so I'd like to do like little bits and pieces like this if that's something that you're interested in. By the way, I like this combo.